Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has just announced to the world that he is a terrorist enabler. Not a sympathizer, but an active enabler of extremists and terrorists. The reason, it's actually one of the oldest reasons in the political book, and no one should be surprised. The sizable Sikh population in Canada, which wields significant influence in important pockets of that country. Before I proceed, I wish to get one thing out of the way, viewer, and this is very important to me. Khalistani terrorists like Hardeep Singh Nijjar, who was killed 3 months ago, and whose assassination Justin Trudeau now blames India for, are just a tiny, minuscule section of the Canadian Sikh community who are otherwise peaceful, responsible citizens like anyone else and do not support terrorist threats and violence against the country of their origin or, in fact, for anyone else. Trudeau says that an entire community cannot be blamed for the actions of a few, which is totally true, like I've mentioned above. But it holds no weight when Trudeau, the Canadian Prime Minister, has taken no action even against those minuscule few, and instead has decided to stand up in his parliament to point a finger at the world's biggest democracy, a country of 1.3 billion people, to defend a person who is by all means a terrorist. In doing so, Justin Trudeau hasn't just proven to be a terrorist enabler, but also perhaps one of the most short-sighted world leaders in history, in my opinion. Terrified that he may lose the support of a community, he has decided to declare a diplomatic war against a country that the world sees as the most reliable and responsible nation in the war against terror. And don't miss the irony of how Justin Trudeau, in blaming India and defending a terrorist, has himself, ironically, painted an entire community by prioritizing a vote bank. Justin Trudeau, a leader whose soft-focus PR helped an entire fake liberal ecosystem to sell him as the world's great hope, has made a choice today. A choice that most Canadians, I dare say, will find shameful. But it isn't difficult to see why Prime Minister Trudeau did what he did. He was seething from a totally bungled visit to India for the G20. While he was extended every courtesy here in India, he received, let's face it, the diplomatic equivalent of a slammed door while on Indian soil. The Canadian press and his opposition back in Canada had a field day bashing Trudeau for being such a national embarrassment. If things weren't bad enough, he had to suffer the ignominy of a defective VVIP jet that left him stranded in Delhi, exposing him to even more ridicule of overstaying his welcome in India. Even his Khalistani friends wondered if something else was afoot. That's how bad his entire week was. So it's beyond understandable that as soon as he finally touched down in Canada, a frustrated, humiliated Trudeau decided he needed to hit back. He needed to get even. He needed to take some action to show he wasn't taking all of this lying down. Allowing his emotions and clear sense of insecurity to get the better of him, Justin Trudeau chose to describe a Khalistani terrorist, Hardeep Singh Nijjar, who was assassinated 3 months ago, a person who actually entered Canada on a fake passport, who forged documents, tried to marry a citizen in order to be accepted as a citizen. Justin Trudeau chose to describe him as merely a Canadian citizen. He gave the entire fleet of Canadian Sikh nobodies in Parliament to vent their frustration and false sense of hurt. With Khalistani terrorists like Nijjar mysteriously dropping like flies, these Canadian Desi MPs are clearly under fire from the extremists to get off their backsides and show some kind of passion, some jigger. Which is why Canadian MPs like Kamal Khera, Jagmeet Singh, who is an ally of Trudeau, Harjit Sajjan, are all forced to bow to terrorists, terrified that they'll lose their vote bank. And now with Trudeau leading the charge, they can all breathe a sigh of relief. But Trudeau, for all his diplomatic short-sightedness, is merely being his father's son. Justin's father, the famous Pierre Trudeau, who was Canadian Prime Minister twice, famously refused a request from then Indian Prime Minister Indira Gandhi in 1982 for the extradition of a Khalistani terrorist named Talvinder Parmar. That name may not be familiar to you, but he is a big Khalistani terrorist. Because 3 years after that extradition request, which was denied to Indira Gandhi, the Kanishka Air India bombings took place, orchestrated by this very same terrorist Talvinder Parmar. The blood of 329 people, including Canadian citizens, is on Trudeau family hands. Just a few weeks ago, Justin Trudeau, remember, famously refused to take action against a Khalistani tableau depicting Indira Gandhi's assassination, because in his words, it was peaceful and broke no apparent Canadian law.